All right, question for you. What do you want your legacy to be? That's the question of the day, revolving around legacy. Now, on today's episode of Sales Talks Money, we're going to be talking about the legacy of the late, great Kobe Bryant. Today is the 1-year anniversary of Kobe Bryant's tragic death in the helicopter accident that took him and 8 other people's lives. 9 people lost their lives that day. Now, the question regarding legacy, do you have something in mind of what you want your legacy to be? And you might be asking, well, what does legacy have to do with money, and what does legacy have to do with personal finance? That's my expertise, personal finance. Well, the answer is, as it turns out, everything. Legacy has everything to do with personal finance. So I've developed something called the 6 principles of wealth, or the SAS 6, as some people call it. And in these 6 principles of wealth, I basically uncovered that you don't need to read 50 different books or take 100 different personal finance classes to understand money. You really have to be great at these 6 things. So I started asking financial advisors, wealth planners, estate planners, just understanding about money. That's how this show started. And I basically found out there are these 6 things. And number 6 is what is called chilling. Chilling is when you own your time. Chilling is what you can do whatever you want with your free time. So that's all about chilling. So when I ask people, yo, what's your chilling? What's your chilling? Most people have the same 3 or 4 responses. They want to travel, they want to pursue a passion, and they want to donate their time and give back to causes they care about. And the greats, they would like to leave a legacy. That's what being chillin' is all about, owning your time. If you had millions of dollars in the bank, you didn't have to get up and rush to work or do anything, what would your chillin' be? And that's what this episode is all about, leaving a legacy. So in today's episode of Sales Talks Money, we're going to talk about the legacy of Kobe Bryant, but also help you find out what you want your legacy to be. Let's talk money.
All we talk is money. All we talk is money. All we talk is money. All we talk is money.
All right, so on today's episode, we're going to be covering 3 topics. 3 topics we're going to be getting into. Number 1, my story, like how I even ended up filming this episode on a beach right now in sunny South Florida. So that's number 1. Number 2, the Mamba mentality, the mentality that kept Kobe Bryant driven in doing what he wanted to do. And number 3, as we discussed earlier, legacy. Okay, so let's get into my story. Like, how did I end up on this beach today? Let me tell you. Let's rewind 1 year exactly. We're going to go back 1 year in time. And I am going to be very real with you guys right now. This is probably the realest episode I've done on Valuetainment. So 1 year ago, I was in a very dark place in my life. I was 39 years old. My beautiful girlfriend, she was 24 at the time, was diagnosed with cancer, with leukemia, heartbreaking. And that messed me up big time. Right after that happened, my father passed away. Now, we had a very topsy-turvy relationship. We actually weren't even speaking at the time, and I lost my father. So my girlfriend, who I'm madly in love with, has cancer. My father, who I've got this crazy relationship with, passes. And I'm about to turn 40. And I'm questioning everything in my life. What the hell's going on? Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to the people around me? Like, what the fuck is happening right now? And for someone, if you know me at all, I'm a very positive, joking around, friends with everyone kind of a guy, and I was in a complete dark place, something that I've never really been in my life. And this was late January, obviously, a year ago, and Patrick Bet-David shows up to town in South Florida. So I'm from Miami, and Pat, so the motorcycle passes. And Pat shows up and he says, let's meet up. And I said, man, I would love to meet up. I am really hurting right now. And I meet up with Pat. I remember the day, and I take an Uber because I don't have a car. And I take an Uber to Fort Lauderdale, and I meet him, Mario, our buddy Paul, at a cafe in Fort Lauderdale. And he says, "What's up, man?" And I'm basically like, "Look, I'm not in a good place right now, and I'm really looking for a little bit more of a purpose to what I'm doing. I have my career in financial sales. It's going great. I made a ton of money. I have this project I'm working on, Sos Talks Money. It's all about helping millennials and Gen Z understand money and breaking it down in a language they can understand. And I'm just a little lost right now." And he's like, "Dude, I got you. Why don't you come team up with me?" He was in Dallas. "Come move to Dallas, be a part of what we're doing, and just kind of be part of the Valuetainment team." I had known Pat for 8 years at that point, and I was like, "Wow, that sounds awesome, man. I'm excited. Let's work this out." So that was at the beginning of the week. So I start telling my friends, "Yo, man, like, I don't know if you know about this guy Pat and Valuetainment. It's sick. Best YouTube channel, business, entrepreneurship, crazy interviews, interviewing like the best of the best of the best." They interviewed George W. Bush. He interviewed the Mafia guys. And did you see his interview with Kobe Bryant? That's what I would tell people, is you got to watch his interview with Kobe Bryant if you want to understand what Valuetainment is about and what Pat is all about. So I started telling people about this Kobe Bryant interview. I kid you not, 3 days later, Kobe dies in that tragic helicopter accident. Oh, and to make this story even crazier, the day that I met Pat, he literally pulled up on on a helicopter. He got off a helicopter. I met him for lunch, and it was like this crazy turn of events where my girlfriend gets cancer, my dad passes, I'm questioning my entire existence, I'm about to turn 40. I meet up with Pat. He shows up on a freaking helicopter. I'm telling people about the interview with Kobe Bryant, and boom, 3 days later, Kobe Bryant dies in a tragic helicopter accident. So my brain, my whole mentality was completely messed up. The dust settled, a couple weeks went by, I revisit things with Pat, and he says, "Come on, man, let's go. I'm waiting on you. Move out to Dallas." I was like, "Oh, damn. Let's do this." So what ends up happening is I move from Miami to Dallas to be a part of what Pat is building right here with Valuetainment. So I moved to Dallas. I don't know anybody in Dallas. I barely know anybody on Valuetainment other than Pat and Mario. And I said, "Screw it. Let me go for what I want to do." So I moved to Dallas to be a part of Valuetainment. And here's the next thing that I learned. Kobe Bryant had it, and Patrick Bet-David has it. And that is known as the Mamba mentality. Now, if you're not familiar with the Mamba mentality, that is the term or the slogan that basically Kobe used to completely live his entire life. He completely lived his life by this Mamba mentality, this intense focus that he had in everything that he was doing, this intense focus that he brought in his preparation and onto his games, obviously. And that's why he's one of the greatest basketball players to ever live. And we'll touch on the legacy that he left of why I think he was going to be one of the best businessmen to ever live. But let's focus on Mamba mentality. And Mamba mentality has three main components from what I can understand. Three main components with the Mamba mentality. Component number one is mindset. The Mamba mentality mindset. Like, where's your brain at with everything you're doing? Where's your vision? Where's your focus? Are you hyper vigilant in what you want to accomplish? And is your mindset there to match that? So that's something that I learned being a part of Valuetainment and seeing Patrick. This guy's super successful, worth hundreds of millions of dollars, whatever. But he's still grinding like he's a minimum wage employee looking to get a pay raise. Like, that's how hyper-focused and hyper-vigilant Pat's mentality was. And that's the same thing that Kobe has. And that's that Mamba mindset. That's that Mamba mentality. Number two, work ethic. The work ethic. So they say what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary is work ethic and the amount of work that you're willing to put in. Most people are just like happy they got their 9 to 5, they clock in, they clock out, peace out, they're out, they made their money, they're gone. Are you working 12-hour days? Are you working 15-hour days? Are you willing to put in the work? Kobe was the first guy that showed up at the gym and the last guy to leave. That was the Mamba mentality. So that's number 2. Number 3, in terms of Mamba mentality, is your willingness to be great. Your greatness, like how bad do you want to be great? And they say that, especially with the Mamba mentality, in order to be great, you have to focus on one thing. Like a lot of people are doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and they're kind of dabbling here, and they're jack of all trades. There's something called the riches are in the niches. Kobe was a basketball player, professional basketball player for 20 years, and that was his complete and only focus. So the willingness to be great. So the great philosopher Aristotle once said, "We are what we repeatedly do." He says, excellence is not an act, but a habit. Like something that you do every single day. Part of the Mamba mentality is trying to get better every single day in what you're trying to accomplish. So here's what you need to ask yourself now. How are you Mambafying your own life? Like, what are you doing to have that Mamba mentality? Remember the 3 things: the mindset, number 2, the work ethic, and number 3, the willingness to be great, to achieve greatness. So how are you Mambafying your own life? What's your mindset at? Right? What's your level of work ethic? How great do you want to be? That's what I take from the Mamba mentality. Moving right along, let's now leave off on legacy. Let's talk about the legacy that Kobe Bryant left into this world. Kobe Bryant once said, you have to ask yourself, you have to figure out what gets you up and going in the morning and what keeps you up at night. And once you find the answer to that, you have to stay true to that. Let me say that one more time. Kobe Bryant asked, what is it that gets you going in the morning? And what is it that keeps you up at night? And once you find the answer to that, that, my friends, is what you need to stay true to. So, luckily for me, I found what my passion was. I found what my legacy was going to be. I'm wearing it right here, baby. This is my Mamba mentality. I put this shirt on. I'm feeling damn good about what I'm doing. So my question to you is, do you know what you want your legacy to be? Do you know what gets you going in the morning? What keeps you up at night? And are you staying true to that? You know, speaking of legacy, Kobe Bryant's left us, right? Like, our legacy is when our body ceases to exist, but our greatness lives on. So I'm so thankful for what Kobe has given us, because yes, he was one of the best basketball players ever. And I also have no doubt that he would have been one of the best business people and entrepreneurs ever. But now what he's enabled in all of us is to say, damn, like, this can all get taken in an instant. Let me answer some of these questions that are super important to understand while I'm alive. What am I passionate about? What gets me up in the morning? What keeps me up at night? Am I staying true to that? And am I leaving the legacy that I want to leave? It's all about legacy. So I started this entire episode with understanding personal finance. What is your chillin'? Like, what would you do with your free time if you had millions in the bank? Like, retirement is an antiquated term. Nobody just retires and does nothing. People want to travel. People want to give back. People want to pursue a passion. But the greats want to leave a legacy. So what do you want your legacy to be? And I'm thankful that Kobe Bryant's legacy was inspiring people like me to even do an episode like this to help people like you. So I hope you appreciated this. I hope you're answering some of these questions about what your chillin' is and what you want your legacy to be. I know, valuetainment, off the record, I'm not confirming or denying, but we are here in South Florida these days. So you can wait for an announcement for that, but there should be some more beaches in our time horizon. But what do you want your legacy to be? And I hope you appreciated this episode. And I'm thankful that Kobe Bryant inspired this. So if you want to check out more information on what I talk about on these 6 principles of wealth to figure out what your chillin' is and the first 5 principles to get you there, check out this episode that we'll put right here called The 6 Principles of Wealth, How to Win the Money Game. If you have not subscribed to Valuetainment Economics, do so below and give that like button a little taparoo, if you will. So last but not least, make sure you're doing what you need to do to ensure that you're leaving a legacy. And as always, save that money.
All we talk is money. All we talk is money. All we talk is money. All we talk is money.